What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken, and today, guys, we welcome Vin from Hard Copy Blues on World's Biggest Collectors, episode 48, to talk about movies, his physical media collection, his very well-organized physical media collection. But Vin is new to YouTube. He's been on it for about 6-7 months. You know, he makes great content over there at Hard Copy Blues. So definitely, guys, give him a follow and a subscribe. All those links are down below in the description. We had a great discussion about all things physical media and cinema. So here it is, episode 48 of World's Biggest Collectors with Vin from Hard Copy Blues. Enjoy. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel. I am joined today by Hard Copy Blues, Vin over at Hard Copy Blues. This is World's Biggest Collectors, episode 48. How are you doing, man?
Good. I'm glad to be here. I think it's a really cool way for you to kind of give back to the community here. I know you've been featuring kind of smaller channels lately, anyways, with Leo and Cody, some guys that kind of just broke into YouTube. I'm not quite that green, but I've still only been on YouTube for like 6 or 7 months, so I'm a very small channel as well. But I appreciate you kind of giving the platform out there to people that are kind of just starting out. I think it's pretty cool. So yeah, I appreciate being here.
Absolutely, man. I've been doing this show for about 2 years now, and it's like I have anybody on here that you know, that I check out their stuff and I'm a fan of, and I've been watching your stuff for, I'd say, a couple of months now, and I'm digging your content, man. So I think you're doing some good stuff over there, doing some cool live streams. So I was like, I got to get this guy on. Hard Copy Blues, new guy on the scene.
Yeah, I just recently got into live streaming. I think in general that's kind of starting to take off and getting busier and busier with everybody doing live streams. But I really enjoy it just because at the end of the day, like, shooting solo videos is cool, but we just love to talk movies with other people that we know love movies, and that's where I really, you know, have the most fun. So I definitely like doing the lives.
For sure. Have you done anything like the video recording stuff before YouTube? Are you like fresh into this? Do you have any like previous experience doing anything else? Or
Yeah, funny you say that. I have none. Like, if you do watch my channel, you know that, like, it is very minimalistic. I do like no editing. I do some, like, my only editing is I edit out me sitting down and then me getting up. But other than that, I do like nothing. Like, you got guys like
well, then that's good, man, because your stuff is pretty seamless. Like, it doesn't feel like you mess up a lot.
Yeah, you got guys that are just breaking onto the scene. A couple guys like Cody, and there's another guy, I believe his name is Bearded Film Guy or something, and they're coming out of the gate with all this high-end editing, and I'm just like, Jesus, like, I'm slacking. But I feel like I'm conditioning my audience to expect not very much, so it works.
Yeah, that's the way that I've conditioned my audience for, you know, 3 years now, and you know that they seem to appreciate it so far. I mean, I edit, but it's like nothing that I do is very flashy. I edit because I stumble over myself so much that I have to edit that stuff out, or it'll just sound like crap. But
that's I'm still kind of getting comfortable with it all. Like, I'm still usually pretty.
You don't want to see a raw, unedited physical media report. I can guarantee you that.
No, I mean, you're so, it comes off anyways. It's so polished and well done. But like, for me, I don't edit. So if I mess up a take halfway through the video, I fucking start all over.
Yeah.
And just because I don't even really delve into editing really very much. But I eventually I might, but we'll see.
And that is the beauty of, you know, lives and, you know, just doing stuff like this, because this is pre-recorded, but I treat this like a live, like we're just going to talk and it's going to be recorded. I'm going to do very little editing with this conversation, is that you don't have that safety net of editing. So it's almost like knowing that going in, it almost makes you better, I feel like, in a way. And it's like, I still mess up when I'm live and stuff, but it's like, oh, well, it's live. What can I do about it? So I just don't worry about it.
Yeah, and these are really good as far as not doing them live and have them pre-recorded, because you can just enjoy it almost like a podcast. I know I was listening to the one you did with Leo and Cody, and I just put it on when I was, you know, I was doing whatever I was doing, and I didn't need to. Because if it had the chat in there, it wouldn't have been as pleasurable of an experience. Because if you're not watching it live with the chat, you don't really care about what's going on in the chat.
Yeah.
You know?
And that was my thought process starting to do these pre-recorded, is just really, having more time to dig into, the collector and just asking the questions and, not reading the chat. Cause like you said, not everybody's there to see all that stuff. And a lot of times I'm reading like stuff that doesn't really pertain to like what I actually want the conversation to be focused on.
Yeah.
Which I love doing live. So I love interacting with the chat, but that's more so, me doing stuff by myself or doing the round tables and stuff like that. So these
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of conversation, I wanted to be a little bit more focused. So this is episode 48. I believe that's right. I hope that's right. Because I still have 2 to come out as I'm recording this right now. But this is going to be episode 48 with hard copy blues. So do you want to talk a little bit about just you as a collector, what got you into collecting, when did you start, how far back does it go?
Well, I'm an 80s baby, 86. So I'm 36. I think I've had that collector's brain since forever. It started with VHS. Now, I was very, very lucky, spoiled, whatever you want to call it. When I was like 8 or 9, in my room, I had one of those big, gaudy, like home entertainment system things that were like made out of that breakable wood, where there was like a big cabinet in the center. You would put the TV, and there was shelving to the left and to the right. So
Yeah.
I had like a nice little media setup, even as like a 9, 10-year-old kid, and I had my TV and all my VHS tapes lined up, and I still have a
Did it
lot of
have the little
memories.
click? Did it have the little doors that you have to push in
Yes,
to
the
click and
glass
open up?
doors that you click.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I had, and I had all my little VHS tapes lined up on the shelves. So I always really enjoyed that, having them,
Do
seeing
you
the
still
collection
have
there.
any of your VHS tapes?
Oh, I don't have any. I
Yeah.
wish I had them, but I don't have any. And
I still
it's
have quite a few of mine. It's all my DVDs I gave away, but I've managed to keep most of my VHS tapes. A
that's
lot of them
great.
were my sister's, and she gave them
Yeah.
to me when she moved out. So
Yeah. I don't know what happened to my VHSs, but that was probably the first thing I collected. And then I went into DVDs, which I don't have any of those either. I think in my attic right now in my house, I have like one of those old CD cases that just has
yeah.
all the pages. But at some point in the line, I was an idiot and I threw all the cases out. I don't know what I was thinking, but then well, the first thing I ever really collected was TMNT Ninja Turtles figures. That was
Yeah.
the first. That was the first thing.
I still got some of those in the closet over there too.
That's another thing I wish I kept. And then I got really into Pogs. And remember Pogs, the little
I do.
circular cardboard.
As you say them, like it's starting to come back to me, like, but I can't like visualize what they actually look like in my
Yeah,
head.
they're just little cardboard circles,
Little
and like
cardboard. Yeah, now I know what
and
you're
they had
talking about.
slammers, and it was some kind of game where you would slam the slammer on top of the Pogs and make them flip. But I got
Yeah.
into those, and then I was really, really heavy into collecting basketball cards for a while. So I've always kind of had that part of me. I think certain people are just kind of wired that way. Um,
You know what cards I used to collect real quick when I was a kid? And I don't know if you remember these at all. There were so many different types of cards, but I used to collect Monster in My Pocket cards. Do you remember that video game that was on Nintendo?
that's not ringing any bells.
It was a game called Monster in My Pocket. If anybody's listening, comment down below if that rings any bells. But they had like a bunch of like trading cards that went
Okay.
along with the game. And I got into collecting those for a while.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I got into Blu-rays. I think Blu-rays debuted as a format right alongside the PS3. Like, what was it, like 2004?
Yeah, you had the 360 came out. You had the PS3. I think 360 came out in 05 and then PS3 came out in 06.
Yeah, yeah. And that had Blu-ray capabilities, which is kind of like one of the main reasons why Blu-ray beat out what's that other format that was out there for a little
HD
bit?
DVD.
Yeah,
Yeah.
HD DVD.
I'll still find a couple of those at a Goodwill. When I go to a Goodwill, I'll find a couple of those usually
Yeah.
hanging out. I never get them though. I feel
It's
like I
funny, like,
should, but
are they inferior to Blu-ray discs, or did they solely lose out because they didn't strike a deal with PlayStation?
so I can't remember exactly why. I don't think that they were inferior. I feel like they were of the same quality, but I don't know. I there was something. I just feel like the place. I don't know if I guess the Xbox 360 could play them. I can't remember what it was. I just feel like they were more accessible.
Yeah.
Maybe there were more PS3 owners that were using Blu-ray. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I got into Blu-ray even before I had a player. My first Blu-ray I ever got was Superbad in like 2007.
Yeah,
And I've gone through ups and downs collecting Blu-rays, various levels of intensity. But over the past 2 years, 2 or 3 years, it's hit a peak where I'm kind of at my hitting my stride with like really, really being into this stuff. And I'm trying to control my collecting. And I'm sure we're going to get into that, like what makes us decide to buy and
yeah.
whatnot. And
Do you want
I've
to
also,
get into that a little bit? Just what sparked that uptick in your purchasing over the past like couple of years? Like what kind of set that off? Was it social media? Was it watching people on YouTube?
Um,
Um,
to an extent, it was definitely watching people on YouTube. I had always had a fairly big collection, but I think discovering the whole community of people online, and I think not to point any fingers, but it's a lot of that goes on you.
yeah.
Uh, so I had
I've
followed a
heard
lot,
that before.
yeah, I had followed a lot of channels, but they were more movie-based channels where it was just strictly talking about movies, ranking movies, things like
Yeah.
that. But then I think
I
you were
didn't
the
even know this whole world existed.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
I was like, "Oh, there's people talking about movies on the internet? That's
Yeah,
cool." And then all
yeah.
of a sudden that transitioned into physical media and I'm like, "Damn."
Yeah, so you kind of were the first channel that I found, which of course will spiral into other channels, and that taught me a lot about all the other maybe less known boutique labels that are out there, and just seeing everybody that had this same kind of hobby that I thought was very niche, and I think it still is,
Yeah.
but it was very relatable to me because I was spending so much of my time watching movies. On average, I'll watch 30 to 40 movies a month. So that's a lot of my free time.
I
And
was
then,
very impressed how you got through your vinegar syndrome haul so quickly, and then you were able to
yeah,
put up a video and
yeah, yeah.
break down, like, every single one of them. I was like,
Yeah,
"Damn, you already watched them all?"
yeah, they're all pretty short. A lot of those, but I was spending so much time watching movies, and then so much of my disposable income was going toward this hobby. So eventually, watching all these people talk about it, I figured I think I have a pretty good knowledge of films, and I think I have a pretty good collection. So one day, I just kind of shot a video for fun, and that's pretty much what it's been ever
Yeah.
since.
When was your first video? Was it
July of 2022. I think July, mid July, something like that. So it's been 6 or 7 months.
Yeah.
Um,
And
so
yeah,
yeah, I'm
man,
still
you're doing great though so far, man. You really are. And I'll tell her I don't think I've promoted this yet, but your link will be down below in the description. So I definitely encourage everybody that's watching right now to go subscribe to your channel and follow you on Instagram and all that stuff. Are you on TikTok or anything like that?
I haven't jumped into that world.
I'll put all your links down there, man. Your Twitter, your TikTok,
Yeah, I
your
haven't jumped
LinkedIn,
into.
Facebook, whatever.
I haven't for the first maybe 5 months. 4 months, all I did was YouTube. But man, I'm really really glad that I jumped into Instagram because that changed everything for me because it's just a way easier and quicker way to communicate with the community.
Yeah.
Whether it's taking a quick
That's where a
picture,
lot of us interact with each
yeah,
other. Yeah.
taking a quick picture, a short story, and it's also easier to message fellow, collectors and YouTubers through Instagram. So if I never got on Instagram, I would have never formed these, friendships with a lot of people that I talk to now on a daily basis, which is very, very interesting. How strong and supportive this kind of BlueTube community really is. It's a very
Yeah.
interesting thing. And I think it's because we all have that same passion for it, and we all feel that it's fairly, like I said, like kind of a niche thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very strong community of people that are very
It's
supportive.
really grown into something strong over in particular the past couple of years because when I first started, it felt very lonely in this world. And I think Sue was maybe one of the first like communities that I joined in on, and she was very supportive and like welcoming and on her channel and stuff of me, movies and Sue, of course. And then everybody else just started popping up everywhere, and then we all just started doing streams together, and it just kind of grew from
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
But
it's weird.
it's a beautiful thing now. It really
For
is.
sure. It's weird. It makes you think, are there other communities on YouTube for maybe like music collectors, like some
Oh yeah.
alternate bizarro world where it's people talking about records and cassette tapes and CDs, and I don't think that that's the
There's another
case.
world of people talking about sneakers or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
on YouTube and Instagram probably.
I would be surprised if it's as lively and engaging as the movie community is, though.
Yeah, there's I don't want to, throw any shade towards music. You can definitely have in-depth discussions on music and stuff for sure, but I just feel like film's a lot there's just a lot more to discuss there. I don't know, am I wrong in that? Maybe I'm just being
Um,
too
I I th I think you could definitely break down and discuss,
short-sighted.
albums as well, and people's, discographies and things like that for sure. And it's funny, I collected CDs at one point. I had a lot of CDs. I have none of them now, but obviously I chose movies because I'm still buying movies, but I haven't bought a CD, and I probably never will again. And you know, I
Does
use Spotify.
music have a bunch of different, like, boutique
Yeah, I
CD
don't know.
lines?
I feel
Like,
like they
is
won't.
there
I
a
feel like
shout factory in the
yeah.
music industry?
Who knows? Who knows?
Maybe that's
Maybe.
what separates us. We have all these, like, different, labels and stuff to talk about
Yeah.
that do different interesting movies. It just feels like a richer world to me, but again, that's probably unfair to say because I'm not in the music world as much. And I mean, that definitely crosses over because I mean, music is in movies and you can buy scores and soundtracks and stuff. Um, but yeah, so kind of shifting, you started collecting when you were younger,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Really young.
is what you're saying. So you go all the way back to the 80s, the 90s, VHS era.
Um, my VHS collecting, I was probably like 7, 8, 9 when I was collecting VHS. So like early 90s. And it was the thing to do. Like for me, my group of friends, we'd have our sleepovers being like 12, 13, having one or two buddies sleep over the house. And that was what we did. We put in movies. Usually it was some raunchy 90s comedy that I've seen a million times, that we've all seen a million times. But that was kind of the thing to do. Like, we're gonna come over, we're gonna watch Billy Madison, or we're gonna come over, we're gonna watch whatever it is, Cable
You
Guy.
a big comedy guy? Is that one of your favorite genres?
Growing up, 100%. As an adult, I totally appreciate and love them, but I don't really gravitate toward the raunchy comedy stuff now. There's not a lot that comes out, honestly, as
No, it's
far
like
as
they don't release a lot now to
they don't
really
release a lot.
keep that fire and
Yeah,
excitement alive for the comedy genre. So you're just kind of, relying on the nostalgia of what you watched when you were a kid nowadays.
yeah. If I'm on my own watching a movie, which is, I'm always on my own. It's very rarely a comedy, but I have love for the genre, and they're some of my favorite films and experiences. But that's kind of like what's um, kind of upsetting about the trend of streaming, because when we were kids, I assume you're roughly my age, mid 30s.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
mid to late 30s now. I
yeah,
mean, I'll be 38 this year. I'm getting
yeah.
up there.
I'll be 37. But we had a limited access to what we could watch. We had VHSs or DVDs, whatever we owned. That's what we watched. And because we had a limited selection of viewing, we tended to watch the same things over and over, which inevitably brings out this love for a certain film, or this deep nostalgia for a certain film that I have, and I know that you have. But like with my kids today, I try my damnedest. But when they have, Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus, all these different things at their fingertips, and then they have YouTube, TikTok, all these different things. It's like,
Yeah.
since you have so many options, you're never forming these strong connections or bonds to pieces of film, because you're not rewatching things, because I mean, it's just a different time, which is
That's
kind of like,
that's that's what worries me because I know we talked about we both have kids. You have 2 kids, I have 2 kids.
yep.
And it's almost like our kids are gonna grow up with nostalgia for YouTube and,
Which
like,
is,
their favorite content creators, which
yeah,
I mean, it's just
it's different.
it's a different it's a sign of the times that we're in. I don't wanna say anything I don't wanna say that that's bad, but it doesn't feel as rich and,
Yeah. Well, I have to
memorable.
regulate, like, yeah, I have to regulate with my younger son who's 7. If I let him do whatever he wants, he's just on YouTube watching short clips of random things. And, that type of entertainment is fine, but for a young mind like him, I'm like, "Listen, turn off YouTube. Go watch a show or a movie, something a little bit
Yeah.
longer." Like, it's almost like conditioning their attention spans to be shorter. What's palatable to them changes. So I tried my best to monitor it. I tried to, I mean, I have, obviously a big collection, and I try to be like, "Hey guys, let's watch a movie." And sometimes I have to strong arm them and make them
But you have to initiate that though, right? It's
initiate and then
rare that
force.
they say, "Hey, we
Yeah,
wanna watch this movie."
yeah,
And it's like when
yeah,
I was a kid, I always wanted to watch movies.
yeah. My
But
older
yeah, I
son
totally get
is
what you
good.
mean.
Yeah, my older son is good with it, and he's 13, and I've shown him a lot of good stuff, and he actually has a very good collection of films that he loves. Like his favorite films are like Fight Club, Stand by Me, Jojo Rabbit. He has a lot of films that you ask most 13-year-olds. I've exposed him to a lot of good stuff, but it's a challenge.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to. I haven't gotten to watching those kind of movies with my son yet, but we watched, Terminator 2 like a
Yep.
couple of years ago, and I got him to watch Starship Troopers last year, and I'm trying to get him to watch The Predator next. So,
Yeah, those are great. I got to show my son
um,
those. I just recently started to expose my older son to Tarantino, and
yeah,
he's liking it. It's tough with Tarantino. I don't mind the violence. Some of the elements of race and some of the language I hold off on. It's a little bit tougher to swallow for me to show it to him.
yeah.
But
Some of his, in particular, like Reservoir Dogs, is pretty bad.
yeah, well, even of course Django, and then
Yeah,
Pulp Fiction's got some rough scenes. But I've shown him some of the stuff I thought was a little bit more his speed, and he's enjoyed them.
yeah, for sure. I don't know if your son's the same way or not, but mine is a big scaredy cat when it comes to like horror movies. Like he's shown interest in maybe wanting to watch like the Jason movies, but it's like when it comes time to like, hey, let's go watch the Friday the 13th movie, he's like, no, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
Um,
my younger son actually. So I watch a lot of horror, and my younger son, he's 7, but at the time he might have been 5 or 6. He'll come down and say, "Is this a scary movie?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, go back upstairs." But then sometimes he'll creep down and he'll just
yeah,
sit and watch. And if it's something really truly disturbing, I won't let him. But he actually did watch Child's Play 1 and 2 with me and sat there the whole time, and he covered his eyes at certain points, but he really enjoyed them to the point where he was asking to watch them. So I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." So I bought the Scream Factory 4Ks when they came out, and I got all the posters and everything. And I was like, "Hey, you want to put that Child's Play poster in your room?" He was like, "Yeah, let's go." So I put it in his room, and no, once the sun went down, he said, "Take that out. He can't have it in his room. It's too scary." But
yeah, yeah, that's my daughter. I'm hoping that my daughter's going to be the horror fan because she watched all the Chuckies with us last year when I got those Scream Factories, and she used to watch like the movie Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark like all the time. She loved that movie for a while.
yep,
She really wants to watch Megan, like that's her new thing right now. She can't wait till Megan comes out. She watched Wednesday last year.
yep,
So I'm hoping that she gravitates more towards the horror stuff because I need a horror watching buddy. My wife isn't as into that slocky stuff as I am.
no, yeah, my wife isn't. I mean, she'll come and sit with me, and it'll be the most random thing, like because I watch a pretty large array of things, whether it's goofy Vinegar Syndrome style horror or really out of the box foreign films or just outside the box foreign films. And half the time she comes down and she sits next to me and she's like, "What are you watching?" And it's
I
like,
was gonna
"Well,
say, does your wife treat you with the same level of disgust that mine does when she goes out? What the
yeah,
hell is this?
yeah, she understands. I mean, my wife likes the uh typical stuff that a lot of women are into, like the housewives and things like that.
Yeah,
So I kind of pull her into this whole other world. But yeah, it's it is what it is.
yeah,
It's funny too. Like this is my hobby as far as what I waste money on. Not that it's a waste of money, but what I spend my disposable income on is movies. When I'm really going hard, there's something coming to the house every other day. Sometimes, and, and
How does
she's
she feel about that?
well. That's what I'm saying. She's really good about it. And I said to her, "Hey, listen. Overall, this is a fairly cheap hobby. Like, what if I was into cars and rebuilding cars
Yeah,
and something wild like that? Or, I mean, I think there's far more expensive. I mean, on a good month, we might spend a few hundred, 4, 5, 6, whatever. But there are a lot more expensive hobbies out there than collecting Blu-rays. And she doesn't give me any crap about it, which is good.
my wife never goes for that argument. I try to make it all the time. She just never does.
Yeah,
She never does. I could be like, look, I could be into drugs, you know.
yeah,
I could be
100%.
out gambling
Oh, that's
at the
huge too.
bar, all kinds of different things. But I'm collecting movies and I'm putting them on a shelf.
But
It's not that
that's
bad.
another thing. I think it's so cool how over the past whatever maybe year and a half, you've kind of brought her more into the fold more heavily. With
Yeah.
the first thing I saw was the Blu-ray audit videos that are super entertaining. Again, as somebody who very much like you has a wife and kids, and we're kind of very the same in that way. I love those. And then when you started the Married with Media channel, just to share something that you're so passionate about with your
Yeah.
wife, it's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. I appreciate that, man. Yeah. Those audits, I didn't, I almost quit doing like the monthly hauls because I was doing like the monthly haul videos. I was like, I'm just showing off all the same stuff. I was like, but what
Yep.
if I brought my wife in here and I
Yeah.
showed
It's
her
brilliant.
everything that I picked up? And
Brilliant.
I was like, I can't keep this up though, because this I don't want her knowing what I spend every month. And then it just kind of caught on and everybody seemed to love it. So I
Yeah.
kept on doing it.
Yeah. I actually recently, when I first started YouTube, what's the easiest video to do is a haul video. But I actually went through my channel maybe a month ago and removed all the haul videos,
Oh,
just because
really?
everyone's doing them. And I feel like if you want to have a successful channel, if you want, I mean, those are the videos that get the most clicks and the most views. But I just felt like I didn't have anything different or new to add. Everyone's buying the same stuff to an extent.
Yeah.
So I just felt like if I'm going to have a channel and I'm going to get behind the camera, I want to have something else to say besides everything I bought. So I actually removed all those haul videos. I'll keep it if it's like a Vinegar Syndrome haul or a Criterion sale haul.
Yeah.
But I try not to do the monthly hauls anymore, and it's probably to my detriment. But um, I don't know. I just kind of stray away from those.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. I get it. I mean, it gets very repetitive, especially when you're just going through all the same stuff.
Yeah,
But you get people that love watching it though.
yeah, for sure. I
Get a
mean, I
lot.
watch other people's, but
Just that for 15 minutes, and there you go.
yep.
I love
That
it.
second one you flashed there, that A24 film. What is it called?
This is the inspection.
Yeah, I got that one. I didn't even know about that film. I think I saw your post on Instagram, and I
Yeah,
got that right away. I think that I don't know much about it, but I read the synopsis, and I think it could be really good.
I've heard really good things about the movie, and I mean, I generally love the A24 movies. I can't say always. I bought The Humans last year, and that was one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
That's a tough one to
Um,
get through.
yeah, it wasn't one of the worst movies I've ever seen. That's exaggerating, but it was very,
Very slow burn, very much atmospheric, very much. I mean,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, I didn't watch that movie under the best circumstances, but
yeah.
yeah, that's a rougher one.
So I've been asking this question to my guests, but what's the state of your Blu-ray collection right now? Is everything pretty organized, pretty clean? Do you got stacks all over the floor? Are you in need of a reorganization? What's the collection looking like over there at Hard Copy
It,
Blues right now?
it's pretty in order. In October, I was having my kitchen redone, and they were installing a line because I went from a gas stove to an electric stove, so they had to run a line in my basement to the power box, and they also put up some drywall. Like this wall here, used to be exposed brick, but I had them put up drywall there. So they were doing some work down here, and it got dusty and messy, and my collection was right by all the work,
Yeah,
and I kind of took a lot of it off the shelves because it was getting all dusty and dirty. But once the construction was all done, I kind of put everything back how I wanted it, and I actually picked up one of those Atlantic. I don't know which version, but one of the Atlantic shelves that I have on the other side of the room. So I have space right now. That's like the toughest thing when you buy like 10, 15 movies and then you're trying to fit it into your collection. But in order to fit it in how you want it, you have to move like 800 movies just to fit the stuff in the right
exactly.
spot.
That's why it's like alphabetical order. I like it, but it's so hard to keep up with and manage.
Yeah. You got to be smart about leaving space and letting them breathe a little bit, or else you're just going to constantly be handling. But at the end of the day, honestly, like I'll reorganize my collection maybe like 6 times a year if I had to guess. And it can be a pain in the ass, but it's also always really fun because it gives you a chance to go through and just kind of handle them all again and see them
I
all again.
bought
And
this. What the hell was I thinking?
yeah, well, I'm my collection. I'm pretty good. I actually have a couple of videos on my page of me just going through my collection, deciding what to sell. I've
Yeah.
probably sold over the past 2 years 300, maybe 350 movies on eBay.
Hmm.
I'll amass a big, lot of them, and I'll just sell them all to one seller as one quick, easy shipment. Uh, I try to go through and weed out stuff I don't like. as much and just kind of sell it
You
off.
find
I
that's
know.
pretty easy for you to do? Because I mean, some collectors out there would be like, "There's no way I could give that up. What if in 3 years it's worth like 5 times as much? I can't do it."
Well, it's pretty easy for me if it's like a non-boutique label film, just a random studio release, and I know that it's not something. Because for a while, when I was really just going hard, I found sellers on like Facebook Marketplace that were selling their collections, and I would just pick up a bunch of movies for very, very, very cheap, like 50 cents, a dollar a Blu-ray. But then when I was going through my collection, the first couple big kind of purges I did,
Yeah,
a lot of films I just said, listen, I don't want to watch this ever again. I'm never going to watch this again. So it was easy and kind of nice to kind of clean it out. And I feel like I'm still kind of evolving as a collector where um, I still have a hard time parting with boutique label stuff, even if I hate it. Like if I get a Criterion and I don't like the movie, I'm not selling it. Like it's a Criterion. I want to have a
yeah,
big Criterion collection, but I'm trying to get to the point where certain labels that I don't maybe value quite as much, maybe Vinegar Syndrome or whatever it might be, if I don't like the film, I'll just get rid of it. So I'm not quite there, but in my head, I have this idea of like a very small collection of maybe like 200, 300, 400 movies, but every single one is just something that you hold very dear.
yeah.
So I'm not there yet, but maybe someday I'll get there.
I admire your strength, man. I admire your strength. I do have a stack of movies down here that I cleaned out when I reorganized part of my collection a few weeks ago, and I am
Yep.
going to sell them. A lot of them's duplicates and Blu-rays that I upgraded to 4K, but I still had a hard time with that
Yeah,
and just moving them out.
I think I heard you talking about that on something recently about if you get the 4K, do you want to keep the Blu-ray?
Yeah. Like if the covers are different,
Yeah.
like with the Lost Boys, like that's the good poster art on the
Yep.
Blu-ray, and the 4K is the shitty hanging from the bridge,
Yeah.
looks like a Lego set artwork,
Yeah, I'm
and
kind of
it's
like
like I don't know if I want to get rid of that or not.
with that, when I got the Lost Boys 4K, I had the Blu-ray with the better cover, but it wasn't a boutique label, so I just got rid of it. But a film where I have let's say it's a Scream Factory Blu-ray, but I get a 4K, I'll keep them both. But usually it has to be boutique. Like that's most of the stuff I sell is stuff I've upgraded to 4K. I'll get rid of the Blu-ray in most instances.
Oh, so you'll keep your Blu-ray of a Scream Factory title?
If it's like a boutique label, and then it gets like Event Horizon. I got the Scream Factory, and then eventually whoever it was that released that Steelbook, I got the Steelbook 4K, but I held on to my Event Horizon
Paramount.
Scream Factory
Yeah.
because it had different art and it's Scream Factory.
Yeah.
But again, something like Lost Boys, I just had some random release of Lost Boys on Blu-ray, so
Now, what if
I
it's in
didn't.
the same line though? Like if you had the Scream Factory Blu-ray and then you upgraded to the Scream Factory 4K, would you get rid of the Scream
I
Factory
haven't done a
Blu-ray?
lot of that. I haven't done a lot
Okay.
of that. I've
Okay.
held off. I don't think I've bought any Scream Factory 4Ks where I already owned the Blu-ray. I think
Okay.
I've held off, and that's kind of I'm trying to be better about that. Where, um, do I need this in 4K? Like, People Under the Stairs is coming out. What, next month? Maybe.
I think they delayed it to May. I think it's like May 30th now or something.
I've got that over there on the shelf. I don't have the slip for People on the
But that's
Stairs.
what I'm struggling with too, because I literally just bought that on Blu-ray from the shout sale. I
Yeah,
did not think they were going to upgrade that to 4K so soon, and
yeah.
then it came out.
So it's kind of you got to weigh it. Like, you maybe wait to hear some things about the transfer, and then I don't have the slip for that film. So if they come out with maybe some new artwork, what's another one? Dawn of the Dead just came out,
Yeah.
and I held off on upgrading that one because I have the Blu-ray and I really enjoy the artwork on that release, which is not included on the 4K. So that's when I didn't bother upgrading.
Yeah, I've been lucky with a lot of the Scream Factory 4K upgrades because I haven't bought them, a lot of the ones that they've released.
Hmm.
But now it's starting to get into ones that I do have
Yeah, it's
already.
tough. Like I think they're releasing Dead Silence soon, and
Yeah,
I
and
have
that's a new one for them, I think. Yeah.
it is for them, but I have that on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
But the new artwork they're putting out for that film is so nice that it's like really tempting. Like, oh man, that's. But yeah, I think you have to pre-order from their website to get that new artwork.
You do. Yeah, that Scream Factory artwork, like, because their artwork, I think, is the original poster. I believe, or maybe it's something different
Scream
because
Factory?
it's yeah the
Well, they put out some new art for that.
yeah they have the new like exclusive slipcover. But what's like the actual artwork of the official release? I can't remember what it
I
looks
don't know.
like. I think it's newer. It might be the usually when they do something they've never done before. Usually it's like brand new commissioned artwork.
Yeah.
And if it's something they have done before, they do the poster artwork with the 4K banner on top.
Yeah, that's where you got to decide, because Dead Silence, it's fine. I like it. But it's like, do I want to pay $35 to get it on 4K with a new
Yeah.
art? It's a tough sell. So whereas, maybe a year ago when I was really going hard, it wouldn't have been that tough of a sell. But I think inevitably if you collect long enough, your habits change. So
Yeah, there is it does feel like you reach these points with your collecting habits where you kind of reach a fever pitch and it's just like you're buying everything and it's like damn I need to kind of slow it down a little bit and reevaluate what I'm doing. I feel like I'm constantly doing that.
yeah, I think it definitely goes in waves, ups and downs. Like February this month, I'm waiting for some stuff that I pre-ordered, like the Rockies and Training Day. But I don't think I've bought a single new release this month. I don't think, unless I'm forgetting something. I bought maybe 4 or 5 movies this month.
All the good ones came at the end of the month.
Yeah, I feel
And
like February has been pretty slow.
yeah, it really has. I mean, Black Panther came out at the beginning of the month, but if you're not into Marvel, then you probably didn't grab that one. I think that's probably the biggest title that's come out this month so far.
Yeah,
Um,
I actually don't have a single Marvel title in my entire collection. I've
you should
only
be proud.
seen what?
You should be proud.
Yeah, I've seen Hulk with Ed Norton, and I've seen the first Iron Man, and I've seen pieces of the first Captain America, but I've
Oh,
never
I love that
seen
movie.
yeah, I've never seen anything else. So for me, it's like, geez, this is too much. Like, what am I going to do now? I got to dedicate like how many hours to try and catch up on this whole universe, and they're not exactly my favorite type of film anyway. So I kind of just like I had a few at one point, but I actually sold them off.
There's some legitimately good storytelling leading up to Endgame.
Yeah,
And then
maybe I'll watch them on Disney Plus and just kind of get a feel for if I want
yeah,
those films.
watch them with your sons. I'd say you all will have a good time watching them up until Endgame, and then after that, I'd recommend stopping. And then
Yeah,
don't.
you saw Ant-Man today, right?
I did see him. I saw Ant Man right before I came on here with you. My son actually enjoyed that one quite a bit, though. Um, Me and my wife are like, I don't know. It just doesn't have the magic or the mystique that it did.
Yeah.
I like Paul Rudd a lot, and
Yep.
he's funny in it. Um, but yeah, that one just was very weird and goofy. It's like it tried to be serious and tried to be silly at the same time, and that doesn't always work for me.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but let's see. I want to dive into just kind of what kind of a collector you are. So I'll ask you some questions here. Are you a day one kind of buyer? And I mean, we've already talked about this a little bit, but are you wait for the sale kind of guy?
Well, we kind of talked about how, at least for maybe you and me, we go in waves of how intense that we're collecting at the time.
Yeah,
Uh, I don't by any means buy everything. Like right now, where I'm at, first of all, there's not a lot of stuff that's coming out that I'm super interested in, so I'm not getting much right now. If it's a film, but like Training Day or like Rocky, those are films that I pre-ordered them because I wanted them right away. So if it's a film that I really like and I know like this is a film I need in my collection, it's not a blind buy. I know it, I love it, and it gets an upgrade to 4K. I'm pretty excited about those titles, and I tend to get them pretty quickly. Um, Blind buy 4Ks or new releases, not so much. At least where I'm at right now, for me to pick up on day one and want to go out to the store or pre-order, it's got to be a film that I know that I really enjoy. But yeah, like right now I'm in a bit of a lull with collecting just because I'm trying to be a little bit more frugal with it. And
yeah,
second, a lot of stuff that I'm interested in just is not really coming out right now.
yeah. That makes sense. Do you buy a lot of? Do you find yourself buying a lot of the mainstream stuff like studio releases, or are you mostly a boutique collector?
It's pretty much the same idea, like same idea. If it's if it's something that I've seen and I know I like it, whether it's boutique or not, I will be more inclined to pick up a film that I might not be as in love with if it's got some amazing packaging. Um, I'm more inclined to blind buy too if it's something that's just beautifully done, like a Vinegar Syndrome. I like obviously the last Vinegar Syndrome sale, I went kind of crazy with that. But I
Hard
knew
not
that,
to at $10. I mean,
yeah, that's
with
what
the
I'm saying.
slipcover
Like,
and it's Vinegar Syndrome. Come on.
even if I don't like the film, you're getting a Vinegar Syndrome release with a really nice thick slipcover. So
Yeah.
um, boutique labels will definitely get me more than a standard studio release, but I try to definitely do my homework on, if it's a film I'm gonna want to watch, because I think as collectors, if we don't watch something that we got within the first week or so, it tends to kind of fall off and get into the backlog. Whereas that's why I
Yeah.
try to watch, like with the Vinegar Syndrome. Like if I didn't watch those films right away, who knows when I would have gotten to them, So that's why I tried to tackle them all really, really quick. And I still have like 8 or 9
Yeah.
more I gotta get through.
It's like I could stop collecting today and probably have enough back there to watch for the next 10 or 15 years. I
Yeah,
feel like maybe not one new movie like every day, but at
yep.
least like 3 or 4 movies a week I could experience.
Do you find that you, like, on a given month, how many films do you think, not necessarily first time watches, but do you think you how many films roughly would you say you have the time to watch each month?
I mean, I strive to be able to watch at least if there's 30 days in the month, I want to watch 30 movies. I want to have an average of a movie a day
Yeah,
at the end of the month. So sometimes I'll watch 2 movies in a day, sometimes it'll just be 1 movie. Usually when I go back to work, I'm not watching a ton of movies on my work weekends because I only work 3 days, but they're like 14, 15-hour days. So it's like I don't
yeah.
usually have a lot of time for watching stuff. So yeah, I try to do that, but most of the time it's probably between like 25 and 30 movies a month that
Which is
I'm
still
watching.
a lot, more
And that's a
than
combination of physical and then also like streaming stuff that I'm watching with my wife or going to the theaters and things like that.
yeah, I will watch a fair amount of streaming, maybe I would even say as high as 30 or 40%, on certain months when a lot of stuff's coming out on streaming. I'm definitely not averse to watching streaming, services
There's a
sometimes.
lot of good stuff on there. That's
Yeah.
to be honest, there's movies on there that haven't received Blu-ray releases yet. Like my wife and I watched Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead on HBO Max today, and it's on HD.
Did you I know
And
I think you were talking to Cody or something, you could never
yeah,
get her
we
to watch that?
we finally
Finally
watched it. So by the
finally got
time
her.
this comes out, we'll have made a video on it.
Nice.
Um, so I'm kind of speaking in advance here, so we should already talk about it. But we watched that today. We also watched Mr. Mom
Okay.
over the weekend on HBO Max. I had never seen that before. Neither of us had.
Yep.
So that was really fun. Some Kind of Wonderful. We watched. What was the movie with Blast from the Past with Brendan Fraser
That's a great one.
and
You can see that getting like a
Wedding
Kino
Singer.
release.
Yeah, that has a Kino release. Is that what you
No,
said?
but I'm saying, like, I feel like if a boutique label is gonna tackle that, I don't know why I see that being a Kino release.
Yeah, I think it has a studio Blu-ray. I
It
looked it
does.
up. Um, but yeah, you'll find all kinds of stuff on the streaming that is in HD, but it doesn't have a Blu-ray for some reason. Don't
Yeah.
Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead needs like a Vinegar Syndrome 4K
Yeah, that
big
sounds
box
like
set VSU like that.
that would be great,
That
that would be
deserves
great.
it.
I know
Yeah.
you've got all the VSUs, I've got them all too, not all my favorite films, but that's a line where I feel like they come out with so few of them, and they're so well done packaging wise that I
Yeah.
plan to kind of get them all as they come out, going forward.
Those are the best packaged releases in the
They are.
physical media game right now. Without question, nobody beats the Vinegar Syndrome VSUs. I don't think. Maybe the second sight big box sets, but I don't know. There's just something about those. I like how uniform they are, and um,
Yeah.
they're just awesome.
I don't think I have any second sight. I think I have a couple, but they're not those nice boxes, and that's a whole 'nother, like,
And don't go
a
down
whole
that rabbit
'nother.
hole if you've restrained.
Yeah, importing. There's so much, like, especially when I get on, Instagram, there's so many people that are showing off all these import steelbooks and import titles that are beautiful, but it's like,
Yeah, I was
geez,
gonna add, have you gotten into any of that? Do you import a
a
lot and
little
stuff
bit,
like that?
a little bit, I'll go on eBay, but it's more
I
like
do
I
find it fascinating how
yeah,
all the different ways people collect and all the different stuff, and there's so
sure.
many different avenues that people go down.
I went on a little tangent for a while on eBay where I was picking up a lot of steelbooks from, just my favorite directors. So like a lot of Kubrick and Tarantino steelbooks that maybe even Blu-rays, not even 4Ks that I didn't have, and just kind of I figure, okay, if I'm gonna buy something that I don't really need, I'm gonna have it be something that's really important to me, like one of my favorite directors. Like I bought a few of the what's the Titans of Cult. I bought a few of those off of some of my favorite movies, and it's kind of fun to collect. It's a different mindset. Like let me just like some
Yeah.
people will have a giant collection of all one director or one movie, and they have like 15 versions of The Matrix, which is like kind of awesome if you love The
Yeah.
Matrix, especially. But it's all where do we want to put our money? What kind of collection do we want to kind of curate? So it is very interesting seeing everyone's habits and what they like and things like that.
Yeah, and somebody that, puts more value in collecting like multiple copies of a movie than collecting
Yep.
different films. They don't have to worry about watching,
There you go.
all those copies. So
Easy
it
way to
probably doesn't weigh on them as much as it does, us. Like I look back there sometimes and I'm just like, God damn, I got so much stuff to watch. It's ridiculous. And I just keep on having more come in.
yeah, it's
Um,
tough.
and it gets overwhelming. It does. I understand why some people get frustrated, they get overwhelmed, and just say, "Hey, I got to pump the brakes for a little bit, and I can't play this game anymore." I get it.
Yeah, and I mean that is an important aspect of it too, is watching, eventually trying to find, and it's so hard, because at the end of the day, you have to find 90 minutes to 120 minutes to sit down and watch these films. But um, it's important, I think, to not get too far behind. And if you realize that you have like half your collection that you haven't watched, to try and at least just be aware of it. Like I know there's a lot of collectors that um, aren't aware of it to an extent and just
Yeah,
buy everything without ever really watching. But again, everyone's different. But
that's somebody was asking me to do a full Blu-ray collection video, and I think I had an idea for that where I would go through all my movies and figure out exactly how many of them I have not seen
yep, yep,
and work up an actual percentage. I think I want to do that.
interesting.
And I hate to admit it, I feel like it'll be in the 50% range.
Well,
I actually hope it's in the 50% range and it's not like 40% that I've watched.
I mean, I've got arrow titles up there that I've had for years, and I like some kind of obscure like kung fu movies or like black exploitation films that I've had forever, and like I don't know if I'll ever get to them, honestly. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, but hopefully someday.
Well, I've said before that there's films back there that I know for a fact that I'll never watch. And I've made peace with that. I'm okay with that because I like having, at the end of the day, I like having them and having the option
Yeah,
if I want to. Now, there's no reason to get ridiculous with that and spend $60 on a movie that you'll never watch. But if I got a movie for like $3 or $4 or something, just because it was cheap and maybe I don't watch it, I feel like that's okay. But
I
I don't know.
watched your rather scathing review of Bubba Hotep earlier today.
Oh my God. Bubba Hotep.
I
I'm
haven't
selling
seen
it.
that. I haven't
I'm
seen that
selling it.
movie, but it was something that never interested me. I don't even know a lot about the
That
plot.
changed something in me watching that
Yeah,
movie. I was like, "Why
I,
the hell am I doing this? I'm not going this hard on trying to collect like whole lines
yeah,
anymore.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. A lot of
I'm
people were
done.
pumped about that release, but I've never seen that one.
It's garbage. Like it's so boring. Like it's not that it's bad. Like Vinegar Syndrome has bad movies that they put out, but they're at least, or at least I haven't seen all of them, but I imagine that some of them are at least fun, like schlocky fun, just a good
Yeah,
time. It's not even a good time, and it's got Bruce Campbell in it, and there's no excuse for it to not be a good time when
yeah.
it has Bruce Campbell in it. But he's like old and he's laying in bed for like the whole movie, and it's just ridiculous. I don't get why anybody likes that movie. Um, but let's see, which boutique label is your favorite out of all of them? I see you got your nice Criterions, your Arrows, your Vinegar
Yep.
Syndromes behind you.
Uh, I would say at the end of the day, if I could only stick with one, I'd probably have to stick with Criterion. Just because it's a very vast array of films, foreign films, older films, newer films. I've found so many movies that I never would have known about through Criterion, and especially when they have those sales, the 50% off. I
Yeah,
went pretty hard last July, but almost every time I went to Barnes and Nobles to kind of browse, there was always at least one or two people there that were, I could tell they were just like you and me, where they were sitting there and they knew it was sale time. And I actually got into conversations with this one guy, especially, and we were just talking back and forth about what we liked from the collection. And this guy that I had never met, obviously,
Yeah.
recommended to me some movies that I absolutely loved, and I never would have even known about them or picked them up without that random guy there telling me. And they turned out to be fantastic. So, um, and that's another label where, like I said earlier, even if I'm not in love with the film, if it's a Criterion, I'm never going to get rid of it. I can't say the same for any other label, but I
Yeah.
will say right now, I'm obviously watching the most Vinegar Syndrome, and I'm kind of high on that label right now, and I'm excited to see what they do going forward. Criterion's 4Ks, like they're coming out with a lot of stuff, but they're not doing anything from a packaging standpoint, or I don't even think special features really. So it's
Yeah.
kind of easy for me to not double dip. Like I know Dazed and Confused came out. I have that one on Blu-ray, and it's the exact same packaging.
Yeah,
And
exactly. I do too. And it's like, I don't know if I'm going to upgrade that one, at
I
least
mean,
not right away.
is that movie going to really change much with a little bit better
I'll be
resolution?
honest. I've seen that movie at least 50 times. It's one of my favorites. I grew up
Yeah,
with it, but I have not watched my Criterion. I
yeah,
had it on Blu-ray for the longest time. I used to have it on DVD and VHS, but I haven't watched the Criterion yet because
yeah,
it's just one of those movies I've seen so many times that I didn't jump right into it right away.
yeah. Like Wally got me because it was I had the 4K with the slip from the other release, but that had great packaging and really cool artwork. So that one got me, and I actually sold my
It was a nice release.
yeah I actually sold my my other release. But if it's harder if the artwork is exactly the same. Like I know they're coming. I think they're coming out with Fisher King with Robin Williams in 4K.
Yes, yes.
And that one's one I have on Blu-ray, and I love that film. I found that film later in life, only a few years ago. I don't know if have you seen Fisher King?
I have not. I
So
don't
good.
have it either, so that'll be a good
Oh
one
yeah,
for me to buy
uh,
on 4K.
get that one for sure. It's a great Robin Williams film. But for me, man, like, come on, it's I kind of respect them for doing that though, in a sense, as a collector, because it saves me money. Like if they came out with Fisher King, and I love that movie, and they did cool new snazzy artwork and everything, and I would be a lot more tempted. But Criterion's kind of going like this weird route that's pissing people off, but it's kind of more of a purist route where it's like, listen, it's the same packaging. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
same. We're not changing it. If you want it in 4K, go ahead. But it's almost like they're not pressuring people to buy based off packaging, which in a way I respect.
Yeah, and then they'll do something like completely random, like release Night of the Living Dead in the old school, Criterion case, whereas
Yep.
the first one was a digipack. So
Yep,
it's like
that's
I don't know why they did that one differently.
yeah, that one I have the digipack, but I didn't get that 4K either.
Yeah, yeah, those I love those digipacks though. Those are mine. I know
Yeah,
some people they love the regular Criterion cases because they're nice and uniform, and I'll admit like they look great on the shelf together. And I do kind of cringe when I look back there and see them all like mixed up.
yep,
But I try to put all my digipacks together and my regular
yeah.
ones together.
I think I
Um,
put mine by spine. I actually that's the only boutique label I organized by spine is Criterion.
do you aspire to collect every single Criterion,
No, no, no.
all the
I have
spines?
no I have no delusions of grandeur to that magnitude.
There's a lot.
No,
Well,
no.
they're in the 1100s now.
Yeah.
And
Did
I
you
don't
ever see
even know
those?
if some of them have. No, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna
Go ahead.
say, did you ever see those videos floating around on YouTube? I think they're actually put out by Criterion, where it's called like Criterion Closet Picks, and it has like
I think
various
so.
actors, and they've constructed a closet, like a clothes closet that you would walk into, very small, but everything wall to wall, all around you, surrounded by shelving of Criterion films, and they'll have random actresses, or directors go in there and browse the Criterion collection and recommend
Yeah,
things to you. But I always thought that was a really really cool. Like if I could just have like a closet, like almost like when you see a woman's wardrobe closet where it's just this big kind of not
yeah,
but just having everything wall to wall surrounding you would be like a really awesome way to go.
yeah. I mean, I have a closet next to me. I mean, I'm in my basement. I think you said you were in your basement too.
Yep, yep,
We just got to finish like I think 4 years ago.
yep.
But
Same.
I have a closet over there, and that's my plan for when I run out of room out here. I'm gonna start moving stuff into that closet.
Yep.
but it's filled with junk right now, so I'm gonna have to move a lot of stuff out of there to
Yep.
make that happen. But
And that's something, yeah, I read again, another thing that we have very much in common. I redid my basement about 4 years ago as well, 3 or 4 years ago. And I think that is another thing that kind of sparked me in my collecting to get a bit heavier again, because the whole basement is kind of my collection wall. And then I got some various movie posters, and then my seating area where I've kind of tailored it to movies. I painted the walls and the ceiling a very dark, almost black color. And I kind of really made it as close as I can get to a theater experience. I'm
yeah,
lucky enough to kind of have that space, and even have some height channel Atmos speakers and the whole deal. But before I had the basement, I kind of wasn't collecting, so it's kind of weird to think like I was given this space to grow, whereas if I never got my basement done, I might not have ever bothered at all.
yeah. And I had one of those Atlantic shelves upstairs before the basement was finished, just in the living room. And my wife, I always tell her, I was like, "Don't you like it a lot better now that I have all these, that I have my own space to put this stuff instead of having it
Yeah.
up in the living room for everybody to see,
And
everybody
you've
to
got,
see my
yeah,
craziness when they walk in."
is that pretty much your whole collection on that wall?
Yeah, I mean, I got probably a shelf's worth of stuff over next to me on the floor over here. But yeah, all that whole wall is is the collection. Now I have my DVDs in the closet over there, and there's probably about 500 of those or so, something like that.
So you've kept a lot. You were smart enough to keep your DVDs.
No, I got rid of all my DVDs in 2016, so I've been rebuilding the DVD collection. That's a lot of stuff. It may not be 500, it might be like 3 or 400, but a lot of that stuff I've acquired over the past few years, like at Half Price Books and Goodwills and
Yep.
places like that.
You ever buy off of Hamilton Books?
Yes, I bought off them a couple times. You'll find some good deals on there.
Yeah,
Some real good deals.
they have some good deals for sure sometimes.
You'll see some boutique stuff pop up. Even like some of the newer boutique items will be on there for cheaper than Amazon sometimes. So I do like Hamilton Books. I don't take advantage of it as much as I probably should, but
Yeah.
it's a good site for sure. Okay, so Criterion is your favorite
Yeah, I would say.
all-time boutique label. Now, what studio? If you buy a lot of the studio stuff, what studio is your favorite? Which one's
I
killing it right now?
I I, I posted a video about this a
Don't say
while back.
Disney.
No, no. I'm drawing. I think it was a Warner Brothers video. They put out Fright Night, right? Was that Warner Brothers?
That was Sony.
Sony? Maybe I'm thinking of a different
Sony did
label.
Friday Night. They did Lost Boys.
Sony. Was it Sony? Maybe I had my whole video wrong and it was the wrong company that I was even talking about. Um, but yeah, as far as the studio stuff, I guess I don't really pay close attention to who does what. If
Yeah,
it's not boutique, as far as who does what for the studio stuff, I guess I'm not paying. I don't have my ear to the ground on that too well, so I don't know.
it's harder too because most of them, like, I mean, look the same really most of the
Yeah,
time.
I mean,
Um,
Lionsgate, of course, with their steelbooks.
yeah,
Um, I know that everyone kind of knows about them. I love that they're priced the way they're priced, which is great. 21 bucks is great. Um, but yeah, as far as like a favorite non-boutique, I can't really speak to having one.
well, if you like the Friday Night, now see you got the Columbia Classics up there behind you. That's Sony, so
Yep.
I would say Sony's probably Sony. Yeah, they seem to be more so than any other studio other than Paramount. Paramount seems to care about physical media quite a bit, but they put out the coolest, like almost boutique level type stuff for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it was Fright. I'm pretty sure. I feel like I did a video on my channel about Warner Brothers though. I'm not.
Warner Bros. Does a lot of good stuff. I mean, they're doing Training Day.
Yep.
Also, I was going to ask you. You were talking about watching movies in the basement. Is that where you have your theater set up?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you ever get complaints from upstairs when your wife's sleeping about maybe having the
No, I
volume
mean
too loud?
they can hear it. I mean, if they're on because she's sleeping up on the second floor, so she's got a whole buffer zone there.
Because Training Day has Atmos,
Yep.
and I didn't know that, and I had it up a little bit too loud the other night when I was trying to watch it. And there's a point where they're like shooting guns and fast car chases through the streets, and it was really bumping. And I was just into it, so I wasn't even paying attention.
I haven't
But
seen
she
that
was
movie in
screaming
so
at me
long.
from top of the stairs, "Turn it
Yeah,
down!"
I haven't seen that movie in years. I'm excited to get that. I got the Zavi Steelbook package of that one, but I
Mm.
haven't heard anything about, and I haven't gotten any emails or anything. So hopefully it arrives, on release day. Luckily,
That's such a good movie.
But now, when you got your basement done, do you have a drop ceiling?
I'll be honest with you, I don't even know what that means.
A drop ceiling is where those it's where those little square panels that you can lift up.
No, it's a finished ceiling.
Okay.
Just like
So I got a drop ceiling, which was really nice for my home theater because it allowed me to easily run wires for the height channels and whatnot.
yeah,
But I was going to ask about what your ceiling was like. Why, because I put insulation in there, so maybe that's helping with the sound. I don't know if you have insulation in your ceiling, but if my
probably.
wife's upstairs and
I
in the
think
bed,
I think we do have insulation, but it's probably the bare minimum.
yeah, I don't get noise complaints really. Luckily,
Yeah. Yeah, it would be easier though if I could run some wires down here because I'm running an Ethernet cable to do this. And it's 100 feet and I just run it up the stairs like through the
yeah.
house, plugged into the router that's upstairs in the living room. Um, so
I'm
that's how I
trusting this all
operate.
the Wi-Fi for me.
Yeah. All right. So steel books or slip covers, what are you the most into?
I was never a
That's
steelbook
always
guy.
a big debate within the
Yeah, I was never
community.
a steelbook guy. I recently got into steelbooks very like within the past few months, like 6 months. I don't have any. Actually, I shouldn't say any. I think I have three steelbooks that are Blu-ray, non 4K. Only like three or four. I've got Bride of Reanimator, Weird Science, and maybe a couple others. My 4K steelbook collection, maybe 50 or 60. So it's not that massive. I know Bob just put a massive three-part installment of his steelbook collection out there.
Yeah.
So but I find it when it's a really important movie to me, I tend to gravitate towards steelbook. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's because I feel like that's the most premium option because it is a few bucks more or whatever. But if it's like a favorite film of mine and it gets released slip steel, I tend to drift towards steelbook unless the artwork is just really, really bad. But I think I've become a little bit more appreciative of steelbooks, especially kind of dipping my toes into Titans of Cult and getting some more obscure steelbooks off of eBay. And I recently got into getting the plastic steelbook protectors, which I never had before. So I'm gravitating in that direction, but I'm not like a diehard steelbook guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, steelbooks are cool. I mean, when I started getting back into collecting, I started buying steelbooks, and I was going kind of heavy on them for a little bit. And then I was like, got to where I didn't like collecting for them as much. I was just wanting put more value in slipcovers. And then Lionsgate just started coming out with awesome steelbooks. I'm like
Yep.
collecting every single one of those, and then I just got into collecting. Feels like every other studio started to take a cue from Lionsgate as soon
Yeah,
as they
yeah.
started
We're getting more steelbooks
started
with
up in their game.
yeah, we're getting more steelbooks with slips on them these days.
But they definitely add a little bit more prestige, I think, to your collection for sure.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. In general, do you find that you do a lot of blind buying yourself?
Yeah, I think it's inevitable when you buy as many movies as, most of this community does. But it's kind of a weird way to put it, but I blind buy with my eyes open in a sense. So
Yeah,
I'll read the synopsis.
that's what I need to
Uh,
do.
yeah, I know well enough my own personal movie tastes. I know what I enjoy and what I don't enjoy based on genre or based on director or whatever the case may be. But like with that Vinegar Syndrome $10 sale, I did a quick synopsis overview and I maybe Googled it and looked at some pictures or maybe a trailer. But I know my taste. But yes, I do blind buy, but I don't blind buy in an irresponsible way, I guess you would say. I try to do my homework a little bit.
Yeah,
But you got to blind buy. I mean, buying movies that you know you love is great, but buying movies that you discover is great. And I think again, coming back to Criterion, that's my favorite by far favorite blind buy way to blind buy is during that Criterion sale because at least they're putting out quality. It's going to be somewhat decent at least. Maybe it might not be your taste or your speed, but if it's a Criterion, it's probably at least in someone's opinion a very good film. But I've found so many films from that label, and I think that's why that's my favorite. But I am looking forward to the next sale to get a bunch more blind buys. Like that's when I'm at my blind buy peak is Criterion for sure. I definitely, from them especially, I'm into it very much.
We could be getting a flash sale soon.
Yeah.
The 24-hour one. I like the 24-hour ones because it's like I get in and I get out.
Yep.
And with a month long ones, it's like I
It's
can't.
tough.
I'm gonna buy so much,
It's tough.
so
Last
sometimes I
sale,
just have to commit to sitting out and not getting anything.
yeah, last sale last July, I think I went to Barnes Nobles three times, and
Yeah,
I those are some of the highest viewed videos I've had in a while because I went and I bought them, but then I showed what I got and I ranked them actually which ones I like the best. But I definitely I have a list actually on my phone of like what I want to get for the next sale, but I got to ease up a little bit for sure because it adds up. $20 a title if you get freaking 30 titles, 40 titles.
yeah. I'm gonna try to jump on when they do the flash. I'll jump on some of the ones that they've released this year that I didn't want to pick up at full price, but I was kind of interested in, like the Adventures of Baron Munchausen. I kind of
Yep.
wanted to check
I had
out.
that. I think I have that, but it's just the standard Blu-ray. But that's another Robin Williams film that doesn't get talked about much.
Yeah.
He's got a role in that.
Now is that worth getting? Is that a good movie?
It's been a long time for me, and sometimes that Terry Gilliam kind of British sense of humor is a miss for me. But I remember the film being very unique, and
Yeah.
I probably will get that in the sale. But I can't say I love it because I really don't remember much about it. I just remember it being crazy.
Yeah. I'm really excited for Thelma and Louise
Yeah, that's one I
coming out
haven't
in
ever
4K.
seen, so I'm definitely excited for that one too.
I'm blind, yeah, blind, not blind buy. I haven't seen it in a long time, so it's pretty much going to be a blind buy because I remember watching it when I was younger, but I don't remember much about it.
No, I don't. I've never seen it.
Let's see. Do you do a lot of shopping at thrifting stores or anything like that, like the Goodwills, or are
That's
you
something
pretty
that
much
I've
buying
never.
new?
Yeah, I've never done that. I have some dollar stores and around my house or my neighborhood or whatever, and I know that a lot of people do it. I've seen a lot of people doing that, but I never knew that was a thing until I saw other people doing it. But no, I never have because I don't know. I just never
Do
thought
you
to.
do a lot of in-store shopping in general,
It's
like your
tough
Targets or
because
Best Buy, or
no
is
one
it?
has it.
Yeah,
So the Target, I know you know this as well. They have really scaled back where they're selling more books now, which is fine. But they had a DVD, Blu-ray, whatever area, and they've totally condensed that down. They've cut it in half in my Target. My Walmarts near me, they never have the new releases in 4K. And the Best Buy near me, I don't know if they even sell movies anymore because when I go to bestbuy.com, it always says unavailable here and it sends me to a Best Buy that's 45 minutes away.
yeah.
So the only way I can shop in store is driving almost an hour and then almost an hour back. So my in-store shopping is damn near nothing at this point, but that's by design. It is what it is.
Did you used to do a lot of that back in the day?
Yeah, I mean, Best Buy back in the day they had aisles and aisles and aisles of
Yeah.
Blu-rays, and it was
I mean,
so
hell,
much fun to go
it
there.
feels like it was just like 5 or 6 years ago. I was just
Yes,
going down multiple aisles in Best Buy.
yeah.
Just
I think
saying.
FYE, you did a FYE trip recently. I think they still have a pretty good amount, right?
Yeah, that one that I went to, there's another one in my area that I went to before, and it cut down to like 1 or 2 aisles. But the one I went to the other day was like still two really long, full aisles that they had in stores.
I'm always jealous of. I think Tim Talks Talkies. He had I
Tim
think
has
it's
all kinds of stuff around him.
yeah, he's got some. I think it's called the Archive, and it's just this
Yeah.
amazing store where it's just all boutique label stuff everywhere and other memorabilia and stuff. I don't have any store around me. I'm in upstate New York, and maybe there's something in the city I don't know about in New York City, but I don't have anything near me that's awesome like that.
Yeah. He'll go to like the Salvation Army and places like that. I've got a couple of those around me, but they're like an hour away.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't want to do all that driving and then get there and all they have is like DVDs and maybe two Blu-rays and they're like Diary of a Wimpy Kid or something like that.
Yep.
You always see something very common.
Yeah.
I never find any good Blu-rays at my Goodwills, but I saw somebody do a video at a Goodwill and they had a Blu-ray section at the Goodwill. I was like, that has never happened to me.
Yeah.
A Blu-ray section.
I mean, I've gone to dollar stores with my wife and kids, not for movies, but they're getting whatever, and I've never even seen any movies really, so I don't know.
Yeah. Let's see. Do you buy pretty much only 4K Blu-ray at this point, or are you, buying
Pretty
any
much,
DVDs still?
pretty much. There's exceptions, especially as I've gotten a little bit more into doing live streams and rankings, and a little bit more into doing streams. Sometimes I'm finding myself buying movies just because they're not on streaming, and I want to watch them, kind of like doing some homework.
Yeah.
Um, but I try not to, because it's almost like just wasting your money, because it's gonna probably come out on 4K. Um, and again, that there's other factors that go into that, boutique label being the main one. But as far as studio releases, like I wanted to get the Fablemans. I was in Target the other day and they had the Fablemans, but they only had the Blu-ray, so I didn't bother, because if I'm gonna get a new release like that, I'm not gonna get it on Blu-ray. Or on Blu-ray, I'm gonna get the 4K if they have it.
Especially if the Blu-ray's 23 and the 4K is 28. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, why wouldn't you?
for sure.
Let's see. What's some movies, some wish list movies that maybe movies that haven't been upgraded to Blu-ray, or movies that haven't been upgraded to 4K? Like, what's the one that you're waiting on? You're just chomping at the bit to get in 4K or even on Blu-ray.
Yeah, there's definitely some stuff out there. I know we've kind of talked about it maybe on Instagram, but I would love a Three Ninjas release.
Oh
I
hell
grew
yeah,
up
man!
I grew up on Three Ninjas, Colt and Rocky and Tum Tum. There's a lot of comedies from, I feel like, the '90s that never saw the light of Blu-ray. They're stuck on DVD. Other than some kind of nostalgic style films like that, I'm waiting on all the Tarantinos to come out. I'm a big Tarantino fan, so I know we got about maybe half of his catalog on 4K. So whenever
What's your
he gets
top three Tarantino movies?
top three, and this shifts and changes all the time. I did a stream on this with Nick at AV Movie Impulse,
Yeah,
and I think for that stream it was Pulp Fiction number one, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood number two, and number three was The Kill Bill.
that might be my top three, to be honest.
Yeah, everyone
If I
sleeps
if I think
on
about it,
Hollywood, but I'm biased
that
toward
moves
that.
up every time I see it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm biased toward it because I read the novel, and it just that delves into all of the backstory. You get so much more information about even the dog Brandy. You get her whole backstory about how Brad Pitt got the dog and where she came from. She was like this brutal fighting dog that they rescued, and you're getting so much more. Obviously, I mean, the book always gives you more, but I think I'm a bit biased toward that film because I like the novel. But
I bought
yeah,
the novel, but I didn't read
it's good.
it.
It's good.
I need to. I need to read at least
Uh,
two books this year. That's my goal.
yeah, I saw your video on that. Yeah,
Um,
there was
Once
a
Upon a Time in Hollywood's so good, though.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
so
I
good.
mean, that should be your first one, because I mean, it's a great book.
It doesn't seem very long either. It's about 300 pages or something.
I don't know. I remember being kind of thick, but I got the paperback, and it's they're not very big pages.
Yeah.
There was a 2 or 3, I think 2 year period where, as heavy as I am into movies, I was totally onto books, where it's the same exact rabbit hole. It's the same. It's mainly off of Barnes and Nobles or eBay, but you're finding different authors, and you're finding different genres of books, and you're finding different time, 60s books, 70s, different, all kinds of stuff, and it's a different experience, but it's very much the same experience. Like, in my
Yeah.
upstairs, in my little, I have like a side room with all my book collection, but I definitely went down that rabbit hole just as hard as I'm into movies. And I think that maybe someday I hope to switch back, and it is a different experience. There's a different level of satisfaction, because you feel like you accomplished something more than watching a movie. Like, when
Oh,
you watch
yeah.
a
I
movie,
mean, it
you might have
requires
enjoyed
more
it.
of your focus for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
More of a commitment.
Yeah. And I think I might have said it on a stream before, but that's my favorite experience, is to read a book and then immediately watch the film adaptation. It's so fun. Like, the last book I finished was Doctor Sleep. And immediately after finishing Doctor Sleep, I had seen the film, but it was so much fun to go back and watch the movie and just see all the differences. And it's a
Yeah.
very rewarding experience on both ends. So
I used to
definitely
read
that.
all the time when I was a kid and even into my
Yeah.
20s and stuff. But I love Stephen King. And I wanted to go back and read like every one of his books, starting with Carrie, and then
Yep.
watch the film adaptation, doing kind of what you were saying.
Yep.
Um, But I already read a lot of his books when I was a kid. But
Yeah, I've just recently found not found it, but I just recently read The Shining in 2022, and that was the same thing. I read the book, and then I watched that TV miniseries with what's his name, Steven Weber, I think, is it?
I remember watching that when I was a kid. I think I saw that one before I saw Kubrick's
That
movie.
one's actually a lot more true to the book.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as 4K wish list, other than that, I think it's just other directors that I really really like that haven't dipped into 4K, like Paul Thomas
Fincher's
Anderson.
another big one.
Which one?
Fincher's another big
Yep,
one.
Fincher, all those movies. I don't know if we'll ever get those with some of the rights.
7 supposedly coming, but
I'd love to get more Paul Thomas Anderson on 4K. I think all we have is Phantom Thread, which is not my favorite from him, but I don't know if he's one of those directors that's kind of reluctant about the format. But
it feels like it, and I think I've heard that too.
yeah, but
But yeah,
he's got some of my favorites.
Boogie Nights and There
Boogie
Will Be
Nights,
Blood
There
both
Will Be
just
Blood.
scream
No, how many?
Criterion 4Ks.
Oh yes, how many people I've talked to on YouTube that are like, "Oh, I haven't seen Will Be Blood. I'm gonna wait for the 4K." I'm like, "No, just watch it. It's so freaking good." Like,
Well,
just
I had
watch.
seen it for the longest time. I watched No Country for Old Men when it came out, and I loved that movie. And then they were both up against each other for the Oscar that year, and I was so happy No Country beat it. I don't know if I just had this like thing about There Will Be Blood, just thinking it wasn't as good as No Country, and I wasn't going to
You're
try to
close.
watch it.
That's a tough one.
Um, so I finally watched it like 3 or 4 years ago, and I was like, "God damn, this movie's so good!" It's
It
like
is.
one of the best movies I've ever seen. I love
Yeah,
it.
No Country too. You love that
It's
movie.
almost a horror movie. Like it
I-
feels kind of like a horror
yeah.
film when you watch it, right down to the score. It just kind of gives it
Yep,
that
the
vibe.
score, the way they shoot some of it, and I just love that rivalry with Daniel Day-Lewis and Paul Dano.
Oh yeah, it's so
That was
good.
the first film I've ever
I
seen
really
Paul
want to
Dano in.
rewatch that.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, it's so good. Even the ending. Oh, geez, such a good ending. But
But I'm
yeah,
kind of like that too. I don't want to rewatch it because I feel like a 4K is coming out, so I want to save that next viewing experience for a 4K of it.
but yeah,
Um,
No Country is another one that if you're looking for a couple books to knock that off your list for the year for some of
I
your
love
goals,
the movie.
amazing book. Cormac McCarthy novel, No Country, very very good.
Yeah, that's another one that needs a 4K
Okay.
criterion. I know me and James for 21st Century Movies have been clamoring for that one.
I don't think Cohen brothers have any. Do they have the Big Lebowski on 4K?
Yeah,
Is that
that's
it?
another director
That's another
or
one.
directors that don't have a lot on 4K.
Yep.
But yeah, There Will Be Blood and Fargo was
I
on the
think that,
slate to get a 4K from Shout Factory, and
yep, that
they
keeps getting
ripped it
pushed back,
off.
right?
Yeah, keeps getting pushed back. So, and I don't know. I wish I don't know what studio did Fargo, but I wish that I don't know. I don't feel like Shout Factory is gonna do that movie justice. I'm just kind of nervous with it coming out as a Shout release, as opposed
Yeah,
to like maybe a studio. Let's see. Getting back into books real quick. As much as I joke about, Target kind of taking all their Blu-rays away and replacing them with books, I do like it that books are kind of making a comeback. That does make me feel good because it is a form of physical media at the end of the day. I
yeah, it
think it's
is.
really cool that they're kind of coming back into prominence after the whole e-reader scare that happened like in the mid
Yep.
2000s, I think.
Yeah, the current.
Um,
I don't have it. I thought it was right next to me, but I'm currently going through Stephen King's newest one. It's called Fairy Tale, and sometimes a book it takes you a while to really grab you. But I just got grabbed by this book maybe yesterday or the day before, and I'm starting to kind of burn through it. But you can just read it, and like, okay, what's the film going to be like? Because he's going to make a film out of all these
yeah,
movies.
he adapts everything.
Yep.
Or they adapt everything. Do you think that physical media will come back into prominence kind of like books has? Or do you see that as two different things?
So I don't know if books ever left. I know that Target is putting more of it out there, but I don't read
There was
enough.
a tiny scare that happened like in the 2000s, and I know I had several bookstores kind of closed down around me,
Okay.
and they were saying everybody's going to e-readers. But
Yeah.
to me, it's almost like books are different than movies
Hmm.
because you have to hold a book for the entire time when you're
Yep.
reading it. So there is something just about holding that in your hand and flipping the pages.
For sure. For sure. I
And
think
it's
that is a
just
big part of it.
that's half the experience to me.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
the idea of if e-readers ever took over, I think that'd be a very sad thing.
and I don't see that same thing happening with movies just because once you put the movie in the player, that's it. it's in the player, you're watching it, and it's the exact same as if you're press played on your streaming service.
Yep.
So they're still um, two different things, but they're also kind of the same experience. Unless you get into the quality aspect of it. Obviously, it's better quality on a physical disc, but most people don't really put a lot of stock into that kind of stuff, I feel like.
Yeah, I think it is different with books, like you said, like a because you have to hold it and you have to hold a tablet or whatever too. But turning the
I
page,
hated that. Like I could not read a book on a tablet.
yeah,
Never.
I mean, it's a small little ping of dopamine, like, oh, I finished that. Turn the page, ping, like
Yeah.
a small little mini victory of turning the page. But and even the creepiness of how old books do smell pretty good too. But yeah, as far as physical media, did you ask if I thought they were gonna kind
Yeah.
of
Do you see that? Because, like you said, I guess books never went out of style or whatever. Um, but I feel like there was a little scare there for a second where bookstores were closing and you thought that e-readers were going to take over, or Kindles or whatever they were
yeah.
called. I think e-reader was the Barnes and Noble version of it. Um, and now we're having the scare with streaming and physical media and stuff like that going away, and everybody's screaming about the death of physical media. And I just wanted to see if you viewed that as the same thing.
Well, I think as far as physical media, if I'm just looking at the trends of what's happening around me and what my experiences are, it's gonna become less and less being able to walk into a store and access physical media. That's been the case for me with Target. That's been the case for me with Best Buy. Um, so I don't think that physical media is gonna die ever in a sense, but I think that it's gonna become almost more niche, but those people that are in that group are going to be more hungry and more passionate about it. Where it'll be almost like people who love vinyls, and vinyl made that huge resurgence, and
Yeah.
kind of now you get vinyls in store again. Like it might be something kind of like that, where maybe it goes away for a little, but it comes back in a sense. But you're always going to have people that are vinyl heads and just love collecting records, and I don't think that's ever going to go away. So as far as physical media, I think that it if you look at the trends, it's going to dwindle for the mass population because the average person is just going to go streaming. But the community of people that really love physical media, I think, is going to only get more and more into it and more passionate about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it does totally. Um, let's see. What why would you say physical media is so important to you as a collector? Like, why is it important to own your movies? Why do you collect like you do? Because it takes a special kind of movie fan to do
Yeah.
the kind of stuff that we do. What
Yeah.
drives you to continue?
See, that's I don't know. It's kind of a tough question to answer at the end of the day, because it's almost like I sometimes I think about this when I'm trying to curate my collection or decide if I want to keep something or not. And I was thinking about this the other day, like, what if, God forbid, I had a fire in my basement and I lost everything
Yeah,
and my entire movie collection was gone? Would I do it all over again? And I think the answer is yes, but I would only buy those films that I have to have, and those films that I have to rewatch. And that might be 200 films, that might be 100 films. But imagine if you lost everything. Let's say you have 5,000 movies gone. Like, are you going to do it all over again? I don't know. I think that I would be very more selective. Why it's so important to me, I think a large part of it is just kind of having that collector brain in a sense that I've always kind of had with different things, whether it's movies or books or cards or action figures or whatever it is. I think that's something that's just in my makeup, and you tie that with my love for watching a movie or sharing a movie with someone else, whether it be friends or my children as they get older. I think movies are my favorite pastime, my favorite hobby, and if you combine that with that little collector brain that I think a lot of us have, that's why it's persisted. From VHS when I was 9 years old up through now being 36, and it being more prominent in my life than maybe ever before. So I think that's the best I could probably answer that.
yeah. No, that's a great answer. Um, it definitely is different. It just I don't know. It feels different to have the movies in your possession
Yeah.
be able to watch them whenever you want versus it's on a streaming service. I don't know how long I'm going to have this. I don't know how
Yep.
long it's going to be on there.
Yep.
And it gets
And then,
scary
yeah.
with some movies because it's like they could rip them away, and it's like you don't ever know if they'll be back. You know,
Or then people who collect movies
are
that.
they going to be canceled for whatever reason in like 10
Yep.
years?
Well, that's very, 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 very likely the way we're going.
Yeah.
But like somebody who has a massive voodoo collection, or I don't even know how it works. I've never used the codes. I sell them or give them away. But
I have very rarely. I
yeah,
think maybe I've redeemed a couple codes
I mean, say you
ever.
have like 1,000 movies on your whatever streaming account that you own or whatever. It's not the same as being able to, and I think we touched on it earlier when you asked me about if my collection was kind of in order. Uh, that's one of my favorite things is just going through and handling them and having that physical. That's when I first started YouTube, I was like, what the hell am I going to call it? And I said, well, I want the hard copy of these movies, so I just went with hard
Oh, there
copy.
you go. That's where the name came from, huh?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
having that hard copy in your hands is what it's all about.
There's just man, there's just something about it. I don't know. Just having that physical copy in your
Yep.
hands of a film, putting it in the player. There's just nothing like it. Nothing like
Nope.
it. Do you ever we probably touched on this, a little bit in different questions, but do you ever doubt yourself as a collector and just look at all the movies you have and you're just like, why am I doing this again? Like, what? All this stuff is on streaming.
Not
Um,
not not why am I doing it, but I will sometimes say, why did I buy this or why did I buy
yeah.
that? But in a broader sense, why do I buy movies? Why do I have a massive wall of films? No,
Or do you
because
even look at it from like a 20 years down the road, perspective?
I have
Um,
in a kind of macabre way,
Say
like
like, where are we going with this? Like, what is this really going to mean in 20, 30 years? You know? I
I
guess by
don't
then at
know.
our age we'll be in our 60s, so
Yeah,
we'll be stuck in our ways anyway, watching physical discs probably.
it's hard.
Um,
I don't know if there's going to be an 8K as a format
yeah,
released, if that's going to be a thing. And then if you go a step further, if it does become a thing, is that something I'm willing to delve into? Because I think you're getting so close to resolution that's so finite and of a difference, you're not going to even be able to really appreciate it unless you have a
yeah,
75-inch screen 5 feet away from you, type of deal.
I agree.
So I don't know if that'll ever be something that takes off. And then if you ask yourself that, eventually everything's gonna just be out in 4K or Blu-ray. And when you talk 30 years from now, what are these labels going to do when they've already put out everything there is to put out? Of course, you're going to get the new stuff, but inevitably, if you follow that that train of thought, it's going to dwindle what's out there to purchase. But I'm sure they'll
Yeah.
find a way where there's money to be made. I'm sure someone will figure something out. But yeah, I don't know.
I can only hope that in 30 years that all these labels like Vinegar Syndrome and Criterion, they put out everything that needs to be put out. I hope that they go back and save every single movie
Yep,
that,
yep,
hasn't been put out and prevent it from being lost in film history because there's still movies
a lot.
that
Yeah,
haven't been upgraded from VHS, or maybe they
yep,
weren't even put out on VHS.
yep,
So it's definitely, you know, scary to think about some of these movies getting lost in film
yeah.
history. Movies like Three Ninjas, you know,
That's got to be coming down the pipeline. It's
a
got to be.
silly little kids film, but it's like it means something to us because we grew up with it. And
I feel like that film has enough. I mean, I feel like that film would
what
probably
about
outsell
Surf
Side.
Ninjas? What do you
That
think
one
about
I've
Surf
never seen
Ninjas?
Surf Ninjas. Does
Oh,
that
I
have
gotta see Surf Ninjas. It has Rob Schneider in it.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of something else. I was gonna say, does that have a martial artist like an Asian dude in it?
I think it has it's been a long time. I think it has the same kid from I don't know his name, but he was in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles too.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah,
I don't remember his
I
name.
think he's in it, but yeah, I don't know his
Yeah,
name.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I think Three Ninjas would probably outsell Sidekicks if they put it out. I think there's a big audience for Three Ninjas.
Yeah, for sure. And Sidekicks was one of those movies that when they announced it, I was like, that was like a Three Ninjas movie for me. Like I watched Sidekicks and Three Ninjas and Surf Ninjas and all those movies around the same time. So I got
Yep.
so excited for Sidekicks. So
Yeah, I was
um,
excited for that one too, for sure. I watched that one last week, I think.
yeah, we need a Three Ninjas 3-film 4K box set for sure.
Yep.
For sure. All right, let's see. I think we're done, man. I think I picked your brain enough, I feel like.
No, it was a
Picked your
fun. It
brain
was a
enough. You have anything you want to ask me?
yeah. Geez, put me on the spot.
You don't have to. You don't
Well,
have to. This is about
what's your
you.
favorite? What's your favorite decade of movies? Not necessarily just 80s, 90s, but so for me, I gravitate toward 80s and beyond. Now, I can enjoy a film from the 60s or even the 50s, but I know there's a lot of guys out there that really love, guys and girls out there that really love those classic films, whether it be black and white or whether it be something from 1959 or even silent films or Charlie
Yeah.
Chaplin stuff. I tend to gravitate toward newer. What do you tend to gravitate toward wise as far as decades?
I would say I definitely have the most nostalgia for 80s and 90s. And I truly believe that that's when most of the greatest films of all time were made,
There's a lot
in
to
my opinion. But
yeah.
there's a lot of great decades, and I'm sure a lot of classic films fans would push back. And if once I get more depth in my film knowledge on the 50s, 60s, and 70s, I'm really loving what I'm seeing from the 70s right now. There's a lot of great films in
There
the
is a lot.
70s.
There's a lot.
Um, but the ones that I have a deep rooted nostalgia for, like some of all my favorite films of all times in the 80s and 90s, it's really hard for me to pick between the two. I would probably say the 90s. I feel like there's a lot more comedy gems in there that I just grew up on and I love.
Yeah.
But I mean, 80s has like Back to the Future and just some of the greatest horror movies of all time,
Yep.
like Nightmare on Elm Street and The Shining. And
It's the birth
um,
of all those iconic franchises,
yeah,
where we haven't gotten anything that strong where it spawns like
horror
nine.
was all but dead in the 90s. I mean, you had some good stuff, but it wasn't as prominent as it was in the 80s. So
Yeah.
say 80s for horror, 90s for comedy, and also
Action
action.
too. Action,
Yeah,
yes. Action
I'm a
too.
sucker for 90s action.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of that was you had these iconic, like for comedy, Adam Sandler, Jim Carrey, Mike Myers, Chris Farley, all these huge personalities. And I think a lot of that might have been because of the popularity of SNL.
I
But we
grew
just
up
don't
on
have,
SNL, the
yeah, we just don't have,
Sandler Spade cast,
yeah, we
and
don't have any guys like that anymore that are just, I mean, those guys are still out there, but the ones that are still with us. And like action with Schwarzenegger. I mean, we don't have like who's the next Schwarzenegger? I guess you could say The Rock, but uh,
no.
yeah, we just don't have. I think a lot of that is nostalgia for people our age, but a lot of it as well are these larger than life actors that just really were hitting their stride in the 90s, especially for me at least. Whereas newer films, I don't know. It's interesting to see how streaming affects and how the movie theater going experience, whether that's declining, as I'm sure it probably is, how that affects how movies are made, how they're funded, and what ends up being put out. And is it is it conducive to creating giant stars, or more franchises and reboots and remakes like that seems to be what draws audiences now is
Yeah, we're
superhero.
not in the age of the star, the movie star anymore. I mean, if you want to talk about action stars, I think the only two real legitimate action stars we have right now is Keanu Reeves and Tom Cruise.
Yep.
I
And
would
man, have you
say,
seen some of the videos from Tom Cruise doing the stunts for his new movie?
no, I've tried to stay away from all that stuff because I'm so excited for
Yeah,
that movie.
ridiculous.
I've seen a little bit of it, but
Yeah,
he's a
unbelievable.
nut.
Like you said, I won't spoil it, but what this guy's doing is
Yeah.
ridiculous, especially at
But
his
you talk
age.
about
Like,
those guys like Keanu and Tom, like, yeah, they're current the best action stars, but they were also some of the best action stars back in the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and they're still doing it.
yep,
So it's like
yep,
nobody's
yeah. I
taken
know.
that ball from them since.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people like to give grief to Tom Cruise and shit on Tom Cruise, but man, I did a video on him top 10 Tom Cruise, and geez, that guy has so
That
many
Yeah, that was
hits.
one of the videos I watched of yours. That was
And he's
hard. That
been
was
such
that
a
was a tough
staple
one
for
to
so
do.
long. Like, yeah,
You can't really even point out like a legitimate Tom Cruise stinker. At least I can't think of one off the top of my head. I'm sure that there's one, but it just doesn't feel like he has many. Like it just feels like all of his movies are
yeah,
important and iconic on some level for some
yeah,
reason.
yeah. You get even actors as prominent as De Niro and Pacino that you can name some stinkers.
Yeah.
But I think that Tom has done a pretty good
Especially, yeah,
job.
especially later on in their career.
Yep, yep. Another one
But
that I did a video on too, but who you can't really name a lot of big flops is DiCaprio.
no, I mean he's very selective because he'll go like 5 years without making a movie. But he did do that one movie that was on Netflix. I
Don't
enjoyed
Look Up.
it. I enjoyed it, but
Don't Look Up.
yeah, but it wasn't like a great
I
movie
didn't
or a
mind it. It
performance.
was fun enough for a one-time watch.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but I know a lot of people were kind of shitting on it. So,
If that's your worst, you're doing all right.
yeah, Leonardo's awesome. But yeah, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, the more I see from them, just like some of their older movies, they're probably the two best actors of all time,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
You know who
I've seen a lot of their stuff in recent years.
I know we're finishing up here, but you know who I've come to really appreciate, and I kind of fell down a little rabbit hole with him, is Dustin Hoffman.
Oh
I don't know
yeah, he's
how much
great
you've seen
too.
from
I need to
him, but
watch more of his stuff for sure.
have you seen Straight Time?
Nope, no.
So check that one out if you like Hoffman. And I know you were saying you're kind of discovering more 70s films. That's one I recently found, a few months ago. But Straight Time with Dustin Hoffman was really, really good. And I want to get Straw Dogs. That's one I haven't seen as well. I got to get that one.
That's one that I almost get on Criterion like every sale, but I always
Me
put
too.
it back. But I
Yep.
really want to get that one too. I've seen the remake. I remember liking the remake, but
Yeah.
I haven't seen the original.
Yeah. That's one I got to. I'll buy it and they'll put a 4K out next year. But whatever.
Probably. It'll be sooner than that. Right after you buy it, they'll make the announcement. There seems it's so weird, like with some of the 4K announcements. It doesn't feel like there's any rhyme or reason to it sometimes. It's just like there's like bigger movies that haven't got that 4K yet, and they're choosing to like upgrade like these lesser known movies. I don't know.
Yeah. I wonder if some are cheaper for them to put out, or what they put into consideration for that. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But Ben, man, I appreciate you coming on. We're going to wrap up Hard Copy Blues on World's Biggest Collectors, episode 48. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on here with me. And I'll give you a second to promote yourself, your channel, let everybody know why they should come subscribe to Hard Copy Blues.
All right. Well, yeah. Again, thanks for having me on to talk movies and talk collecting tonight. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, my channel, Hard Copy Blues, been at it, about 7 or 8 months, but I try to put out content that has value. If you vibe with my opinion on certain things from this conversation with Ken, I try to do a lot of ranking videos or things of that nature. I look forward to doing a lot of live streams coming up with other people in the community. And at the end of the day, I just want to put out unique or purposeful content. So if you like movies and that sounds good to you, then yeah, definitely check out my channel.
I mean, I have the complete opposite of me. I try to put out the least meaningful content I can possibly do. So definitely, guys, if you want meaningful, purpose-driven content, go check out Vin
I might have
over at
overstated that. I might
over
have
at Hard
overstated
Copy
that.
Blues.
I
You're
might have
selling
overs-
yourself, man. You
I
better
might have
deliver.
overstated that because I put out one video on my channel where I just put the camera up and it was like a 5-minute video of me just putting away movies and I never said a word. So not
That's
everything,
awesome.
not everything is
I'm taking inspiration from you. I'm doing a video like that tomorrow now. That sounds great. Sounds great. But thank you so much again, man, for joining me. Everybody that's watching this, again, this is going to be put up probably 3 weeks from now, I think. But I appreciate you guys watching. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Definitely leave us a comment down below. Let us know how you enjoyed the episode. And yeah, definitely give Vin over at Hard Copy Blues a subscription, a follow, all that good stuff. We'll see you guys later.